Hello and welcome to New York Comic Con's Metaverse event, where we are continuing to break the fourth wall to bring convention entertainment to the comfort of your own home. I am Victor Dandridge, the hardest working man in comics, and I'm truly honored to bring this special panel to all of you, the story behind the legend of Zaadii. Joining us today, we have John Morris, Traveler's Senior VP of Enterprise Integrated Marketing, award-winning comic creators Gail Simone and Jim Calafiore, and Rachel Cox, mother of our beloved hero. Let's get started because this is such a powerful event here, and I'm super excited to be here. John, can you tell us about the Unfinished Stories campaign and the message that Travelers is hoping to spread with it?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Victor. You know, it was about 3 years ago that we decided to build a campaign to help increase awareness about the dangers of distracted driving. And as I talked to Walt Connolly and the team at TBWA, our agency, the brief was really simple. Let's just try to save one life. Let's see if we can do that. So working with our colleagues, we considered various approaches to breaking through and grabbing people's attention. And the insight that really struck us as we looked at some of the early ideas and the early work was, you know, the loss that is suffered when a person is taken from us too early, right? We all suffer a loss from that. So the first three stories were told through video storytelling, right? Allowing a loved one to share what that person was like, what their hopes and dreams were. And through the use of animation, we then envisioned how their life may have unfolded had their loved one not. And when we met Rachel and learned about Zaadii, we all felt that Zaadii, our superhero story, should really best be remembered through the use of a comic book. And that's how the legend of Zaadii was born. So it's the fourth installment in our series of unfinished stories, and we're really very proud of the work and so pleased that Rachel allowed us to tell Zaadii's story.
And obviously, to commit to this, you brought in two of the best comic creators of all time, in my humble opinion. Gail, Jim, what drew you to Zaadii's story?
Well, when I was first approached with this project, I was listening to what it was about and what the goals were. And, these are things that I felt were really important. And then hearing that there was this young boy who loved superheroes as much as I did as a young kid really excited me. And, talking to his mother, Rachel, about his story and his life, made it, even though I knew it was going to be deeply personal and emotional, I felt that this was a really worthy and important thing to do, an important message to get across.
Of course, of course. How did you come up? I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought.
No, go ahead.
I like the aim of the PSA, that it wasn't talking about the person who was at fault and blaming and using that as the example. It was more what was lost when on the other side. So it's in a positive way of getting the message out.
Of course, of course. Now, Zaadii as a character, how did you come up with the designs and the story behind the character? Jim, let's start with you on the design side.
Well, the designs, we got a lot of reference from the family, a lot of photo reference of things. I started off basically, well, we knew he was going to be hawk of some sort. I know the name kind of went through some iterations, but we knew it was going to be bird-oriented. And in terms of the design of the costume, was looking at some of the reference from the family had shown a headdress that had feathers that came down off the back. So I had come up with a half mask and had streamers off the back that were geometrically shaped like feathers. And if you've seen the logo, I don't know if you're going to have the logo leading up to this, that's repeated in the logo I designed. And then repeated those shapes again in the cape, inferring feathers, but doing it in a more stiff way or straight-edged way. And then similarly with the costume, it's again looking at the designs of that area of the Native Americans in that area that are very geometric, as opposed to, say, the Northwestern, where it's the same sort of animal iconography, but it's smoother, the Midwest or Southwest. It's very geometric. So I started off very early going with triangular designs on the costume. Actually, there were some of the blankets that were being held up in the photo reference that I received that I looked at. And actually, the character was originally going to be, I designed him to be earth-toned, red and sort of brownishes. And someone had suggested picking up more of a color in this one specific blanket that had a teal in it. And teal is always a great color.
Of course.
You don't see that for superheroes a lot anyway.
One of my favorites, absolutely. And you clearly put a lot of storytelling into the character design, which is brilliantly done. It's quite beautiful. Gail, when it came to designing the story itself, how much input did you have in talking with the family to do that?
Well, I had a phone call with Rachel, and we, first of all, I wanted to talk to her mother to mother and let her know a little bit about my background and how young I was when I first encountered superheroes and what that meant to me and how I could relate to Zaadii's story in that way. And we just had a really long conversation where she was very open and shared a lot about Zaadii, about his life, about the impact that he had on their family and their community and the school, and what things were important to him, and then she told me about how he first encountered the cape, the idea of the cape. His sister had an Elsa cape, and he just was so smitten with that cape. And when he finally got a cape of his own, he just didn't want to take it off. And so I asked Rachel, what she felt that cape meant to Zaadii. And she talked about how it made him feel more powerful and empowered, and told me about how much he loved to dance, and how the community let him get away with things just because he was such a joy and a bright light. He could wear the cape to school, for instance, and dance in, during assemblies when other people weren't allowed to, and, things like that. So I got a pretty wonderful feeling for who Zaadii was and what he meant to the people who knew him and loved him. And then I wanted, especially in the story, where we're talking about Zaadii's real life, I wanted Rachel's words to speak to that story. And so when I was designing the entire comic, I felt that was really important. And then when we go into the fantasy elements, that it felt really cool and like what a young boy would think would be a cool superhero. So we, came up with the name Z-Hawk and a cool car and and that he would want to protect people and not be an anti-hero, per se. And so I just started thinking about that and what would make this a really effective emotional story, honor his life, and hopefully change someone's mind about whether they're going to drive while being distracted.
Of course, of course. More than just fighting criminals in the street, Zaadii as Z-Hawk is a champion for the environment. Why was that such an important angle to center this story on?
Well, in talking to Rachel and about her family and Zaadii's background, that was something he had an aunt, I believe, in particular, who is a lawyer and was fighting for a lot of rights, water rights and things within their community. And she said that Zaadii loved the environment. He loved talking about that type of stuff, and that she felt that his unfinished story would probably lead to some sort of environmental activism.
That's brilliant. I love it. Absolutely. John, can you tell us about the Travelers Institute and how you're building advocacy about distracted driving? Yo, I'm afraid you're still muted, John.
I was trying to follow instruction there, and I followed it a little too well. So, yes, as I was saying, the Travelers Institute is our public policy division at Travelers. And in 2017, as traffic fatality rates were beginning to surge across the country, the Institute partnered with our personal insurance business division to launch a campaign we call Every Second Matters. And that was really trying to get across, it was a national education campaign, really trying to get across that every second that you're behind the wheel, you need to be present, you need to be alert, and that even 1 second of taking your attention away from the road can have devastating consequences. So this Unfinished Stories campaign is sort of a part of that Every Second Matters larger campaign. And what the Institute has done, they've held over 80 various meetings across the country This was pre-COVID. Now those meetings are, of course, virtually. But pre-COVID, we were able to get out to universities. And then what we do is we bring in people from around the community. So law enforcement, victims of distracted driving, other folks in the community who really care about the issue. And it's a roundtable discussion. And we're just trying to sort of town by town almost really build awareness around the issue and hopefully begin to change the dangerous behavior of distracted driving.
Very well said. Rachel, your son Zaadii was an instant lover of superheroes, and now through this project has become one. Can you tell us more about him?
Oh boy. Well, Zaadii was absolutely full of life and very, very energetic. Zaadii believed he was a superhero. He believed I was a superhero. I think he believed his whole family was just a family of superheroes. He loved to wear his cape and jump off the back of the couch and roll and practice his stunts. He loved to watch his favorite superhero over and over and over and over again. We have several episodes that are fully memorized, I think even still. He loved to dance. He was somebody who would be suspicious of people at first, but then once he trusted you, he was all about you and all over you. He was just full of life. It's so hard to encapsulate, somebody into just a few days, but he absolutely full of life.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. He seems to be a beautiful character on the page, but even in real life, his name had a story. What is the meaning behind Zaadii's name?
So Zaadii's name came while I was in the hospital right after giving birth to him, and his grandmother and several other members of his family were room. We water.
Oh, I think we lost you for a second there, Rachel. We'll come back around. Gail, Jim, what is it that readers should expect when they read this Seahawk comic book?
They should expect a really entertaining, gorgeous-looking comic book story that has real-life elements, that honors the Navajo heritage that Zaadii was part of, and that honors his life, his family, what his dreams were, and what, had his life not been cut short, what could have been. And hopefully it will spark some people to think about, not only Zaadii's life, but their own life and how they conduct it when they get behind a wheel.
Of course, of course. Obviously, you guys have such a beautiful, robust library of work underneath you already. Was it difficult to treat this project as something unique and original while still paying an homage to some of the inspirations?
Well, we had to think about,
of course,
him. We had to think about Zaadii doing it. We had to think about the family. We had to think about the message, very much so. So it was a little different in that way. But I mean, in terms of the finished product, we even got sort of the old team together from Secret Six. We had Jason Wright doing the coloring, and he did some beautiful work on the colors. So it was sort of, it was old home week.
It was,
to a certain degree. But we also had to be cognizant of what we were trying to say.
When I sat down and was thinking about it in the beginning, I write a lot of stories about real life situations and real life culture issues and things like that, but never about someone who actually existed in real life or exists in real life. And so this was going to be something, a different approach, and because it is so deeply personal for myself, for Rachel, I'm assuming everyone involved in the project, that added that layer of, we want to get this really right and, like I said, honor the family, the Zaadii, the project, all of it, while trying to do a really fun superhero story that we think Zaadii would have thought was cool.
Of course, of course. Now, many of us that are watching might have an idea of what we believe being a distracted driver means, but I think it's something a lot bigger than that. John, can you get into what the real range and breadth of being a distracted driver entails?
Well, thanks, Rachel, because everyone thinks about texting and driving, which of course is a major distraction. There's no doubt about it. But you know, today the technology in our cars is such that, you know, you've got the nav, you've got 500 stations on Sirius, doing your makeup in the car, being emotionally distracted and taken away from being present while you're on the wheel. All of these are distractions. And listen, we're all, I think we're all guilty at some time of driving distracted, right? It can be a small thing, but that 1 second that your eyes are away from the wheel can make a big difference. And we've got our risk study, the Traveler's Risk Index, and that tells us that people say, yeah, it's not me. Yes, I can drive distracted. It's other people I worry about. But of course, that's not the case. And we all have to be more cognizant of our behaviors behind the wheel. And hopefully, that this campaign, because we hopefully engage people in a little different way than the scare tactics and other ways that some PSAs have gone. Hopefully, we engage folks in the content, and in that way, we get our message across maybe a little bit more powerfully.
Of course, of course. Rachel, we're glad that you're back. I wanted to let you continue discussing about Zaadii, if you don't mind. I think she's back. Nope, we lost her again. Oh, man. We can give it just a second and see if she can come back in. Hopefully she can.
Victor, everything worked so well earlier.
I know. That's the way this always works. When it's go time, that's when you find out. Are there any special promotions that you guys are doing in order to distribute the Z-Hawk comic book? Yeah,
we're going to be obviously we're going to be we have an e-reader that will go on our distracted driving page on travelers.com. We will be promoting that page through paid advertising, going out and trying to reach audiences and driving them to that page. And from there, they can go onto our company store and they can access the comic for free, along with other merchandise around the legend of Zaadii. So, and then we'll be distributing it through other channels, of course, our retail agent channels and other channels as well.
I do hope that you come up with a line of T-shirts, because I certainly would love to wear one. Is this just a single issue, or are you doing a limited series?
It's a single issue right now. That's our intention. But back to the T-shirt. We have a T-shirt for you, so we have to do a T-shirt. But right now, it's a single issue.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
There's also the promotional video, behind the scenes stuff. I remember was shot.
Jim, thank you. Yeah, we've got the behind the scenes video that we're also creating. That sort of Gail and Jim and Rachel, and really do a sort of behind the scenes and how the story came together. It's Zaadii. I didn't know Zaadii, but he was a beautiful kid, and he sort of captured everybody's imagination. And we're hoping that this story sort of celebrates his life, and people will get to know Zaadii a little bit through the comic.
Of course, of course. Okay, before we have anything go wrong, Rachel, we want you to continue what you were saying about Zaadii.
Yeah, I live kind of out in the country, so Wi-Fi seems to be a little wonky here sometimes.
I totally understand.
So can you repeat the question, actually?
Sure. Actually, we'll just go into, just tell us a little bit about what you hope the world gets from Zaadii's story.
Well, I think first and foremost, what I hope the world gets from Zaadii's story is a little bit of the spark that was Zaadii, that is Zaadii, to travel to each and every person who hears this story, who looks at the comic book, who takes it into their heart. And through that, I hope that through that spark of love that is Zaadii, they will pay very, very close attention when they are driving their vehicles, that they are driving most aware and mindfully, and are definitely not doing anything that could distract them from the very important job of operating a vehicle.
Absolutely. Please continue if you have more.
Oh, well, I think that's just really
that sums up everything.
Yeah, this whole project allows, in many ways, Zaadii's life to continue, and it's heartwarming and touching, and it couldn't be more perfect. It's a bereaved. I mean, I wish I wasn't a bereaved mother to begin with, but it's a bereaved mother's dream to see some sort of, through the legacy of Zeehawk is the legacy of Zaadii, and I'm just thankful. I'm grateful, and it's perfect.
Absolutely.
Well, Zaadii thought of himself as a superhero, and there's nothing more superheroic than saving a life. So for me, it's so important that this project saves lives, and that people really, realize that is the most important thing out of it. And I think that Zaadii, the ripples of Zaadii, would be happy to know that, his as a superhero, that he was able to do that.
Of course.
And going with this different format rather than the animations, which I've seen on YouTube, which people should check out. They're really nice. Of the other untold stories, going with this different format, it's reaching a completely different audience to a certain degree. So it gets the message out there where it might not have gotten through the videos.
Of course, of course.
And that was. I'm sorry, Victor. I was just going to say, makes a good point. And that was one of the intentions with this medium, to reach a different audience than we have reached previously. So.
I think you guys have certainly done an amazing, tremendous job of not only uplifting Zaadii, continuing the story, and encouraging other people to be more focused and aware when they're behind the wheel. This is truly a testament to Zaadii's spirit to truly be like gentle water, able to move mountains and to affect the world at large. This has been a beautiful experience. I thank you all for the work that you've done. John, Rachel, Jim, Gail, this has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation. Thank you so very much. I want to say a special shout out to New York Comic Con for bringing us all together. I hope all the fans out there have enjoyed this conversation. Please visit the Traveler's website to check out this free, very inspirational piece. It's a beautiful thing and something that we should all be aware of. Once again, I'm Victor Dandridge, the hardest working man in comics, saying thank you to everyone tuning in, and thanks to all of you on the panel for sharing your light with all of us.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone's hard work.